Hi everyone, this is Cynthia again with some more book talk. So I not that long ago went into my bookstore with my boyfriend after date night. I love doing like dinner and then going into a bookstore because that's just me, and I think a lot of you are probably a lot like me. And I ended up picking up a bunch of books that I wanted to haul and show you. So the first is an audiobook. So I just got into audiobooks thanks to my boyfriend's dad, who gave me a ton. And it's great because I commute to work, and gives me something to do because I was getting bored with the radio. So I picked this one up. It's Love the One You're With by Emily Griffin. And I just peeked at the back, and that's what sold me on buying it. It was also cheap. But let's see. This is Ellen and Andy's marriage doesn't just seem perfect, it is perfect. There is no question how deep their devotion is and how naturally they bring out the best in each other. But one fateful afternoon, Ellen runs into Leo for the first time in 8 years. I think that tells us everything we need to know without actually listening to the book. And so I like books about relationships. I think that's a really interesting topic to explore, and there's multiple ways of exploring. So I'm interested to see what this ends up being like. Next thing I picked up was an Albert Camus book, The Plague. I was a history and French major in college. I've read some Camus, but I haven't read one of his works in its totality. So I've read chunks of it that were assigned in kind of a literature textbook. So when I saw this at the bookstore, I knew I had to pick it up. So Camus is a really interesting writer. So this one is, let me give you just like a short synopsis here. It says, a gripping tale of unrelieved horror of survival and resilience, and of the ways in which humankind confronts death. The Plague is at once a masterful crafted novel, etc., etc. It takes place in Oran, a coastal town in North Africa. And Camus is one of the most interesting writers that I haven't read since college, and so I really wanted to pick it up and read it. And I'm now thinking I should have probably picked it up in French, because one of my goals this year is to read more in French. But this is an American bookstore, so I picked it up in English. So I'll pick it up in English, and then maybe later on I can pick up something else of his in French, or even this one again in French. Another kind of academic-y book, or a classic, is Voltaire's Candide. I read this in graduate school, and it's been a while, so I don't remember all the story, but this is a very typical book for analyzing the era of the Enlightenment, this kind of late early modern period. So going into the French Revolution and what gets marked as the modern period in history. So this is a play, I believe, or this gets put on as a play quite a bit. And so this is an era that I teach in my courses, and so I wanted to reread Candide and see if maybe it would be something that I can bring into my courses in the future. Okay, next up, I was kind of thinking ahead, thinking about fall, thinking of October, which is one of my favorite months, and a month in which I feel like I gravitate towards mystery horror type books. And horror is a genre that I have neglected a lot in my life because I'm afraid. But it's also a genre that fascinates me, and that from time to time I'll pick up a book from, and I'm just fascinated and hooked. For example, I really like the zombie and vampire genre, and so that is what the next 3 books represent. So the first is David Wellington's Vampire Zero. And I actually run a book club in my local area, and we read a different David Wellington book. What was it? It was one of his zombie books. I don't remember. If I remember, I'll list it down below. But this is a vampire book. So that's all I know about it. It just says vampire serial, a gruesome vampire tale. And I know that I like David Wellington's writing. Like, I liked the book we read. There were some faults of it, but overall I liked it. So I'm kind of not, I'm not even going to spend too much time reading the back of this book because I want to be surprised. I want to see where he takes this. Oh, I know what book I read from David Wellington. It was not this one, but it's listed in the next book. It's Monster Island. I read Monster Island. It's a zombie book, and it was, I enjoyed a lot of the different themes that get brought out in zombie books. This one, though, is about vampires. It's 13 Bullets, a vampire tale by David Wellington. And again, I don't know a whole lot about the story. I was drawn to this book by the author, whom I've already read, of course, but there was another lady in a book club that highly recommended. She's read all his books and recommended some of his other books, which she said were even better than Monster Island. So I'm excited to see where the vampires are going to take us. So lastly, this was also inspired by my book club. This is by Colson Whitehead. And I read, where is it? We read another one of his books. Oh, The Underground Railroad. That's what it was. We read that for my book club. And that book was good. I really enjoyed it. But as a historian, it didn't... I think there are better books discussing the Underground Railroad, but if you've never read a book on kind of the Underground Railroad and this experience of fugitive slaves, that was a good kind of fictional introduction to it. But I looked up some information on Colson Whitehead. I ended up following him on Twitter, and I'm really intrigued by his style of writing because in a lot of the reviews of Underground Railroad, they discuss this book, which is Zone 1, a novel, a national bestseller. And a lot of the reviews talked about how he likes to take a genre and then kind of turn it on its head and do something totally different with it. And so as somebody who enjoys the zombie genre, I wanted to know what he was going to do with it. So that's all I know about this. This is post-apocalyptic world. There's a kind of zombie theme to it, and I kind of think I'm probably going to end up liking a lot of these books. So one more book, and this was one of these mystery books. I've already opened this one because I needed to open it. So I love when they do this. They don't show you what the book is, and they just give you a description of the story, and you pick it up based on that. So the little description of this that's on here says, "Take a journey through life through the eyes of a dog who believes that if he's good enough, he'll become man in his next life. Funny and heart-wrenching. Even cat lovers will like this. Trust me." So I am very much an animal lover. I used to have a cat that passed away a few years ago, Luna, and now I have 2 little dogs. You might have seen them running around in the background, Lincoln and Ladybird. And so from the description, I knew that I was going to enjoy the book and probably be crying throughout. So this book is The Art of Racing in the Rain, a novel by Garth, Stein. And so if it's about animals and it's from their point of view, I just know that it will be heart-wrenching and that I will enjoy it. So that is it for me. Let me know if you've read any of these books and kind of what kind of rating you would give them, because it'll make me look forward to read it. So I'll hopefully update you on some of these books in my recaps at the end of the month. I think that's one of the things that one of my goals is to recap books at the end of the month and to kind of do reviews of some of them as I'm reading them. So that is it for me now, and I will see you in the next video.